Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mrs. Ghost Stories. Hope you enjoy today's ghost story. If you find it interesting, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to hear more thrilling ghost stories as soon as they come out. And now, let's dive into today's spine-chilling ghost story. Imagine stepping into the deep, quiet woods thinking you're alone, seeking nothing but peace and solitude. The calm, the fresh air, the rustling leaves, it all feels perfect. But as the day fades and the night sets in, you begin to hear something. A faint sound at first, almost unnoticed, but it grows louder. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, following you. You're not alone. You're being watched. And no matter how fast you walk, those footsteps remain, echoing in the darkness. Tonight's story is about a journey into the woods where peace quickly turns into terror. Stay tuned and listen carefully, for you may not be alone either. The protagonist, an avid lover of peace and nature, yearns to escape the chaos of everyday life. Seeking solitude, they decide to venture alone into a remote forest, hoping to find the tranquility that the bustling world can never offer. The journey is a personal quest, not just for peace, but to connect with the wilderness in a way that few have ever experienced. The forest, at first glance, is the perfect place, a serene haven with towering trees that seem to touch the sky, their leaves filtering the sunlight into soft beams. The air is crisp, refreshing, filled with the sounds of chirping birds and the gentle murmur of a stream flowing nearby. For a moment, everything feels calm, untouched and perfect, as if nature itself is welcoming them with open arms. But little do they know, this peaceful beginning is only the calm before the storm. The protagonist takes their first steps deeper into the forest, leaving behind the chaos of the outside world. With each step, the hustle and bustle of city life fade into nothingness, replaced by the quiet embrace of the wilderness. The path before them is narrow, winding, and almost hidden beneath the thick foliage. Sunlight filters through the dense canopy, casting soft, dappled patterns on the ground. The air is fresh, cool, and filled with the earthy scent of pine and moss. The only sounds are the whisper of the wind through the trees, the chirping of distant birds, and the occasional rustle of leaves as small creatures scurry through the underbrush. With every step, the protagonist feels a sense of freedom, as if they've escaped into another world, a world untouched by time or the noise of modern life. The forest seems to welcome them, each new tree and leaf a silent companion on this journey of discovery. They pause for a moment, closing their eyes to take in the serenity, feeling the cool breeze brush against their face. It's as if the entire forest is breathing in unison with them. The peace is overwhelming, and for the first time in what feels like forever, they feel completely at ease, free from the pressures and worries that always seem to weigh them down. In these woods, there is no rushing, no deadlines, just the calm and steady rhythm of nature. The protagonist moves forward, each step guided by an invisible force that draws them deeper into the heart of the forest. The further they go, the more connected they feel to the earth beneath their feet, the trees around them, and the unspoken silence of the woods. It's as if time itself has slowed down, allowing them to simply be. They are lost in the beauty, the tranquility, and the solitude, completely at peace in this vast, unspoiled wilderness. But little do they know, this peace will soon be shattered. As the protagonist continues deeper into the forest, enjoying the calm and serenity, something suddenly shifts. At first, it's almost imperceptible, a faint sound, barely more than a whisper, drifting through the still air. They pause, listening closely, but the sound is gone, swallowed by the dense forest. At first, they dismiss it as nothing more than the wind or an animal moving in the distance. But as they resume walking, the sound returns, more distinct this time, the unmistakable crunch of footsteps on the forest floor. Each step seems deliberate, slow, almost too controlled, as though someone is following their every move. The protagonist's heart skips a beat. They glance over their shoulder, but the forest behind them is still, too still. There's nothing there, yet the sound continues, each footstep echoing through the silence, drawing nearer with every step. It's as though the woods themselves are holding their breath, waiting for something to happen. The footsteps grow louder, closer. The protagonist's pulse quickens. They begin to walk faster, but no matter how quickly they move, the sound remains, pacing them step for step. They stop abruptly, their breath catching in their throat. The footsteps stop too, leaving only the sound of their own heavy breathing. For a moment, the silence is almost unbearable, and they convince themselves it was just their imagination. But as soon as they start walking again, the footsteps return, slow, methodical, always behind them. The feeling of being watched grows stronger, more intense. Every nerve in their body screams that they are not alone. Each time they turn, there's nothing but the dark shadows of the trees stretching endlessly into the distance. And yet, the footsteps never cease. They begin to feel it, the cold, suffocating certainty that someone or something is following them, lurking just beyond their sight, watching their every move. As the evening deepens, the once peaceful forest becomes shrouded in darkness, the air growing thick with an unsettling silence. The trees, now towering black silhouettes, loom like sentinels, casting long, twisted shadows across the path. The temperature drops, and the air feels heavier, pressing in from all sides. Every step the protagonist takes is accompanied by the sound of their own footsteps and the now familiar unsettling echo of those following them. The forest, which once felt like a haven of solitude, now feels suffocating. The footsteps, once faint, are now undeniably close, too close. It's as if the space between them and whatever is following has closed, the presence more palpable than ever. The protagonist's heart pounds in their chest as a creeping sense of dread washes over them. The footsteps don't stop, they don't fade, they follow in perfect sync, as though whatever it is has been waiting for the right moment to make its move. The protagonist's mind races. Is it a person, a wild animal, or something worse? The thought of being stalked by something unseen, something that doesn't belong in this forest, sends a chill through their veins. They try to ignore it, to rationalize it away, but every time they stop, the footsteps stop too. The instant they begin walking again, they hear it, the slow, deliberate steps echoing behind them. Finally, the fear becomes too much to bear. The protagonist breaks into a run, desperate to escape the feeling that has gripped them, but with every stride, the footsteps grow louder. The sound is relentless, always just a fraction behind them, as if whatever is following is toying with them, letting them think they can escape. The fear surges, threatening to overtake them, and the protagonist runs faster, adrenaline pumping through their body. But no matter how fast they move, the footsteps are still there, closing in, growing louder, more menacing. The deeper they go into the forest, the closer the presence becomes. It's no longer just the sound of footsteps, they can feel it now, like a shadow breathing down their neck, chasing them through the darkness, and there's nowhere left to hide. After what felt like an eternity, the protagonist finally bursts out of the dense forest, their heart racing, breath ragged from the terror that has consumed them. The sound of footsteps, the oppressive feeling of being watched, it all disappears the moment they step into a small clearing, where the faint glow of light from a distant campfire breaks through the dark veil of the trees. Their body shakes with exhaustion and relief as they look around, searching for any signs of the presence that has stalked them. For the first time since entering the forest, they feel the weight lift from their shoulders. The footsteps are gone. The eerie feeling has vanished. But just as they take a breath, a local man, who had been sitting by the fire, notices their frantic expression. He slowly approaches, his face filled with a knowing sadness. "You've been in the forest, haven't you?" he asks, his voice low and almost sympathetic. The protagonist nods, trying to calm their nerves, but unable to shake the lingering fear. I heard footsteps. Someone or something was following me. What is it?" The man's eyes darken as he looks toward the forest. "This forest is known for its ghosts," he says quietly. "There are stories of souls who never found peace. They roam, following anyone who dares to enter, leaving behind those strange sounds. What you heard wasn't just the wind or an animal. It was the spirits, still lost in the woods, unable to rest." The protagonist's blood runs cold as the man's words sink in. The terror they'd felt now had a name. These were not the footsteps of a living person, but of something far worse. The realization sends another shiver down their spine. They had come face to face with the restless spirits of the forest, and now, no matter how far they had run, the fear was never truly gone. The protagonist stares at the dark silhouette of the trees in the distance. the memories of the footsteps still echoing in their mind. They can't shake the feeling that the ghostly presence is still there, waiting for someone else to wander too deep into the forest. And as they walk away, they know one thing for certain: they will never return to that cursed place again. As the story comes to a close, the protagonist's pulse still races from the fear they've encountered. The quiet terror that followed them in the woods has left a lasting mark, and they know that they never forget what they've experienced. But even now, the eerie feeling lingers, reminding them of something far more sinister in those ancient trees. The man's final words echo in their mind. Some places are better left undisturbed. The spirits that roam here never find peace. They wait and they watch. As a warning to anyone who might consider stepping foot in the same cursed forest, the protagonist shares this chilling advice. Not everything in nature is as peaceful as it seems. Some places are haunted by those who refuse to leave, trapped between worlds. If you ever hear footsteps when you're alone, don't turn back. Run. Leave before it's too late. The protagonist knows that while they have escaped the forest's grasp, the memory of what they felt, those eyes watching from the shadows, the footsteps trailing their every move, will stay with them forever. And though the forest may look serene from a distance, it's a place where the spirits still linger, waiting for the next unwitting soul to wander too far into the dark. So heed the warning. Some things should never be disturbed. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's ghost story. See you in the next, even more thrilling stories. If possible, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel to support me in creating more ghost stories for you. Thank you so much. Goodbye, and see you again.